I came across these beautiful cropped box shirts online and I was like, I have to make myself one. So I made mine in the Ankara fabric and it has a collar as you see. So welcome back my beautiful fashionistas. Let us start. So I have my fabrics folded into two. This is the back on top and the downer one is the front. It is also folded into two. And guys, the front fabric or piece, it has 1 inch button allowance, but I added half an inch for turning that button allowance later, as you will be seeing. So for the length, you can either use 15 or 16 or 17, any length that you want, as long as it is okay with you. So mine will be 18 inches, and I also added the sewing allowance, hemming allowance, and the shoulder allowance on top. So guys, we will be taking all the measurements from this center back, not the button allowance. And the first thing I'm going to mark is the shoulder measurement. So half of the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7.5 inches. I'm adding half an inch since I'll be adding sleeves, but since this is a free shirt, I added a 1/4 inch. You can add 1 inch, you can add half an inch. So just make the shoulder a little bit loose since this is a free shirt. It's not too tight. So I marked down that, and from this where I've marked, I'm going down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant, and I'm also going to mark 3 inches for the neckline width, 1 inch for the back neckline depth, and also 3 inches for the front neckline depth. So I resorted to the curved or round neckline, simply as you see. So I have to mark here where the neckline width is for both front and back, and then curve for the front also. So that is simply that. So I have to draw this shoulder slant connecting from the neckline width to the 1 inch shoulder slant that we marked, and after that I just add half an inch as the sewing allowance at the shoulder. So from that 1 inch I'm going down by 8 inches, but since this is free, I'm just going to mark 8.25. You can even mark 8.5. It is a free shirt. It is not supposed to be so tight. So along this line, which is now the chest line, I've marked the measurement that I marked also along the shoulder. So after that, I just connect the armhole line like this so that I can carve out the armhole. So I'm getting the midpoint of this line, which is at about 4 inches and 1 bar. Then I carve out the armhole like this. So after this, I'm just going to mark 1/4 of the bust measurement plus half an inch is allowance plus 1 inch for sewing, and whatever I have here is what I'm going to mark at the hemline. So when it comes to ease allowance, you can add 1 inch or half an inch or 2 inches depending on you, but make sure you add ease allowance plus your sewing allowance since this is a free shirt. So after that is simply all you just cut out. So now for the front, I want to mark the correct front armhole. So I'm going in by half an inch at the midpoint of this armhole and then carve out accordingly, just as you see me doing, like this, only for the front. The first one that we marked was only for the back. The two armholes are different. Front armhole is different from the back armhole. So now I cut that excess off, and now that is the front piece. So remember, the front is supposed to be divided into two because of the buttons that we will be adding later on. So I'm dividing it into two like this. So these are my two front pieces. So I have to cut kind of some pieces that will be acting as lining pieces so that I turn over that button space. So these are the pieces. It's just 3 inches in width. The length is that entire front, the entire length of the center front. So I'll be putting right sides facing each other like this, and then I'll sew by 1/2 inch, then cut out this excess for both front pieces. And guys, after there I will just have to cut out the sleeves. So I have this piece for the sleeve. We need 2 sleeves, but I'm going to cut one first. On fold, I have the 8¼ inches we used as the front armhole, plus ease allowance and hemming, ease allowance and sewing allowance. Then, so now from the top, I've just marked the cap's height. I just used 4 inches. Cap's height, the method is on the screen. And the length of this entire sleeve is 9 inches, but I added 1½ inches, 1/2 inch for the hemming, 1/2 inch is for the sewing allowance at the top, then 1 inch for hemming allowance at the bottom. So this is what I have for this sleeve. So I'm drawing a line along the cap's height, and I'm marking the 8¼ which is the measurement we used for our sleeve length, or the armhole, not the sleeve length, I'm sorry, the armhole curve length. So I've drawn that diagonal line, getting its midpoint, then I simply just curve like this. So it is a really simple free shirt. So after that, I add the ease allowance that we used for the main shirt and also the sewing allowance. Then for the round sleeve width, I'm having 6½ inches plus ease allowance and also plus sewing allowance. That is 1 inch for each. Then I just connect my points like this, and then that is all. I just have to cut it. So this is a simple free shirt. You just need to add allowances. You don't need a dot. You just need it to be free, cropped, and that is all. Plus your short sleeves. You can even make long sleeves for such a shirt, and that is it. So now, using the first one, I cut the second sleeve, as you see. So for hemming these sleeves, I will just be double folding like this. That is, I will fold by 1/2 inch once like this, fold by 1/2 inch, and again 1/2 inch, then run a straight stitch, and then the sleeves will be ready to be added onto the main shirt. So now, after this is what I have for the back. Now we just need to join the shoulders, yes. But before, let me just show you what I've done to the front pieces. So I sewed by 1/2 inch on top here along the button allowance by 1½ inches. So at the right side now, it is supposed to be 1 inch because we used the 1/2 inch to turn that button allowance to the wrong side, or to have a clean finish. So right sides facing each other for my front and back pieces, I will just be sewing by 1/2 inch along the shoulders, and this is what I got. After that joining of the shoulders, I added the sleeves, as you see, on either sides. Now I'll just be finishing them up by sewing by 1/2 inch, by 1 inch that we left as the sewing allowance on the side. That is at the wrong side, not on the right side. So now guys, now I just have to take this measurement for the collar. So this collar is a little bit different. It's not like the usual shirt collars, but you can use even that usual shirt collar that we always use. This one is a little bit different, as you're going to be seeing. So I have this piece for my collar, so I'm just going to fold it like this, and then also like this, folded twice. So along this width is about 3.5 inches first. So from the fold, I'm going to mark my collar measurement, but remember it is on fold, so you mark half of the collar measurement that you measured from your shirt. So after getting that measurement, I add 1/2 inch as the sewing allowance for this collar. So where this open edge is, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches this side. So 2.5 inches this side, and in the middle there where the fold is, we have 3.5 inches. Then I connect simply like this, kind of a little bit curved line or a straight line, you do what you want. Then connect going to the top like this. So also I'm going to go out by 1/2 inch so that my collar will be sitting well along the neckline, since it is a curved neckline. So after that, I'm just, cutting off the unwanted pieces like this. And now opening it up, this is what we have. Now what I have to do is to add some stiff paper so that this piece is a little bit, heavier, and the collar can stand up. Either sides are also by 1/2 inch after adding stiff paper. So here we are, guys. After adding some stiff paper, you can add any interfacing that you have. And I finished sewing up the sides, and then I flipped the collar onto the right side. So it is so ready to be added onto the main shirt. And we have 1/2 inch here. So me, I just love sandwiching the shirt in between that collar from this part, but sandwiching is a little bit tricky. You can just sew one part first and also finish with the other part. So after all that sewing, this is the collar attached from one end to the other. So at the ends, guys, it can be a little bit tricky, but it is doable. Just go slowly and you can finish and do it. So for the hemline, I just finished by double folding by 1/2 inch, and the shirt is ready, very, very ready. So this is what I have now. It is a simple shirt that you can make within an hour or two. You rock it and go wherever you want to go. So for the buttons, that's the kind of buttons that I want to add onto this shirt are added by certain machine that I don't have right now. That's why you're not seeing buttons. I'll just be taking this shirt to someone who will help me add those buttons. But you can even rock it just as you see it. So that is it for today when it comes to these cropped box shirts. Thank you.